I'm Heather from booktubes, and today's interconnected romance recommendations. So I did this video a year or two ago, and I'm doing it again with a completely different set of books. So the idea is I take one trope or one specific attribute of a book and connect it to my next recommendation. Pretty simple. It's actually not the easiest video to do. The lists can be difficult. I think maybe because I try to work specific books in there. I don't know what my issue is, but it's not the easiest thing, but we are here for another round. So first one is Mask of Mirrors, which is Rook and Rose #1 by M.A. Carrick. I read this at the beginning of the month and I am obsessed. Obsessed. This is a fantasy trilogy, and it does have a romance thread in it, but it's not fantasy romance, it is fantasy. And this is exactly the type of fantasy that I love. This type of intrigue and wits being matched, and like this level of some bad things happen, but it's not horrific and it's not abuse and trauma, you know, constantly being enacted on page. So in this, we are following multiple characters. We start off with a prologue of our main character as a child, but basically we are following a con artist who is trying to work her way into the nobility of this city. We are following her, we're following people she interacts with. There is a mysterious vigilante, there is a kind of cop-like character who is from the indigenous people there and is viewed as a traitor. There is a businessman who is richer than anyone else, but he's a former criminal and not nobility, and so he can't gain access into this, you know, hierarchy, even though he's much more successful than they are. And you have other nobility characters, the noble family that our con artist is trying to worm her way into. All sorts of things. This is layers on layers. You're tricking you, but you're tricking you, but you aren't tricking anybody, but we think you're tricking people, you know, that type of thing. I love it so much. I love it so much. There's magic in here. It kind of relies on tarot cards in one sense and astrology on another sense. You would definitely have colonialist themes, conquers colonialism, trying to suppress and wipe out the indigenous people, particularly a couple hundred years later, you know, and how those upper elite and these people who belong here. So many amazing themes, just never knowing who or what or when or where, or is this going to be okay? Who is the smartest person in this room? Who is the smartest person in this scheme? It's so good. It's so good. I loved it so much. I cannot wait to read the next one. Then, because we have a con artist with a secret identity, I'm using the secret identity to connect us to Sinful Vow, which is Mafia Misfits #1 by Monique. Someone in here is not who they say that they are. And you have a definite secret identity. This is a mafia, a black mafia, specifically arranged marriage romance, where you have a marriage for alliance purposes. The thing that I love about this series is that, one, is black mafia, which is very cool. Two, you have supportive families, and that's the thing that you don't always get in mafias. A lot of times you have very abusive parents and heads of mafia. That's not what you're getting in this one. Also, the women are so capable. They are just as lethal as anyone else in the series. Also, those women are treated with constant respect, and anyone who does disrespect them is going to be dealt with. And I love that so much. Those are often my issues with mafia romance, and they don't happen in the series. And I love that. I love that safety. And I really have enjoyed the dynamic of all of these couples, but this one specifically is a great start. In Sinful Vow, they kill someone you know, and that also happens in Unhinged, which is Necessary Evils #1 by Onley James. This is psychopath romance, so you have obsession, you have incest, you have all these things, but do you have love. And if someone would burn the world for you, do you need them to feel any different kind of love? And this is male, so we have a psychopath. He is the adopted son of a billionaire. He is secretly a killer. His family is actually kind of an experiment to have psychopaths be killers for the worst people in society, and he kills a child abuser. Well, that child abuser's son tries to kill him in retaliation, and it's instant obsession. It's instant sexy times, but it's also dealing with trauma, child abuse, sexual abuse, sex trafficking, child trafficking, things like that. So we have some dark themes, and this is a dark romance, but it's one that's balanced very well between the banter, the obsession, the steamy scenes, the darkness, the killing people, the revenge, all of these things. It's balanced very well, and I really do enjoy this series so much. But they meet because he killed someone. In this whole series, and in this book specifically, they're all serial killers, right? They've all killed multiple people, maybe not with trophies, maybe not with that specific type, but they are serial killers, and they play cat and mouse games quite a bit with their love interests and or other people. Which leads us to The Girl in the Mist, which is a romantic thriller by Kristen Ashley. We have a famous celebrity who moves here for protection, and the ex-FBI profiler who is protecting her. They're both older characters with adult kids. The youngest is his daughter, and she is like 16, 17, somewhere in there. And they deal with stalker situations, but they also deal with the murder of a little girl and the murder of a college student. So we have a serial killer who is playing cat and mouse games with a fixation on the FBI profiler. And obviously anyone that he cares about could be used as collateral for this. And in the middle of this, they're also forming a relationship, but they also need to be trying to solve this mystery and not completely focus on each other. The way that it all plays out is very interesting. I think it's a really good form of romantic suspense that kind of leans into some of the darker things, but their relationship itself is not dark in any way. They treat each other amazingly. And so taking that thread of older main characters solving mysteries, I'm going to lead it into Paladin's Grace, which is The Saint of Steel #1 by Kingfisher. This is standalone fantasy romance trilogy, so each book is about its own couple. You could read them separately. You don't have to read all of them to get the HEA or anything like that. But this first book, it's all older main characters. First book, I think she's in her 30s and he's in his 40s maybe. And we have a paladin, which is a holy knight, a god-ordained warrior, if you will. And his god died. And so many of their sect went berserk and either killed a ton of people in that rage, or killed themselves or killed each other, and they've been broken. Their god is dead. It was a real god, and they feel the emptiness where he used to be, which is a fascinating concept. But there are some creepy things happening in this. There are some supernatural, paranormal, we don't know what it is, but they're going around killing people. And also maybe we have to prove that someone didn't commit murder, but also who did commit the murder. And then also once we find out who did, how do we stop them? Because we don't even know what this is. Very, very interesting creepiness. But our couple, they meet, I laughed at their meet cute. When I picked up this book, this is the Kingfisher that I love is this series. It is heavy on the romance, it's heavy on the humor, and it also has these fantasy and creepy horror elements. But when I picked it up, I didn't know what to expect, and I was so pleasantly surprised, not only by the romance, but by the humor and their banter. It's a slow burn, and yet they also pine after each other immediately. And it's just so cute and sweet and funny, to where I read this, almost a year ago, and I remember so much about this book and about this series and about these characters and how much I loved them and how much they loved each other and all of the wonderful things that they did, and also just being like, what the heck is going on with this mystery? And Like, who is killing people and how do we stop them? I just absolutely adored it. I think if you are a romance reader and want to try T. Kingfisher, this is the series I would tell you to read. For sure. For sure. So the fantasy and the gods in this lead us back to Mask of Mirrors, where not only is there magic and not only do we have these different forms of magic and science, but you also have gods. You have these indigenous gods that the people believe in and that the oppressors do not, and how that plays into it, and how maybe the people are God touched basically and other people don't believe in it. And it's just a fascinating thread in this story, and the way that it affects not only our plot but also our characters. This is one where the gods aren't really controlling your destiny per se. They're not the Roman and Greek gods that are, you know, so conceited and full of themselves. They're this indigenous gods and the gods of people who are oppressed and who have been overthrown, and yet they have not abandoned their people. And that is such a interesting thread. Again, read this book because I'm obsessed. So that's it. We went full circle between the interconnected wrecks. Let me know if you have read or want to read any of these. I love them all, so you should read them. Thanks so much. Bye.